Donald Trump and his traitors to democracy are shockingly brazen. And, I mean, how much more do we need to hear to know or see or get to know that Donald Trump is a Russian agent? That, you know, he's here doing the work of Vladimir Putin. And not just Putin. He is an agent of an international, essentially, coalition of autocrats who are strongly opposed to democracy. Democracy would mean their demise, whether it's the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, or whether it's the president of China, or whether it's the president of Russia, or whether it's the, you know, Kim Jong-un, whatever he calls himself, dear leader of North Korea. You know, this is who Trump has bonded with. And, you know, over the weekend in South Carolina, he came right out and said that if he becomes president again, he would turn NATO over to Russia in a heartbeat. He said, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. He's speaking to the Russian troops and their leader, Putin. Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, replied. He said, any suggestion that allies will not defend each other undermines all of our security, including that of the U.S., and puts American and European soldiers at increased risk. You know, Article 5 of the NATO treaty basically is, you know, an attack on one is an attack against all. And it has only been used once. This came into play, you know, after World War II as a way to hold back the Soviet Union. But that one time was after 9/11. And, you know, the theory was that there was this attack on a NATO country, the United States, from Afghanistan. And, you know, George W. Bush put together a coalition of 20, 30 countries, I forget how many, but, you know, a number of countries to invade Afghanistan. Now, you know, it was based on BS. Mullah Omar had publicly stated, I mean, it was in the Washington Post, came out and said, you know, we will arrest bin Laden and turn him over to a third country for trial if you guys have any evidence that he's behind 9/11. And we had the evidence. But George W. Bush didn't want to do that because he wanted to have a war. Because, you know, he had, before the election, he had told his biographer he wanted to be a wartime president. That's how you get reelected. It was the lesson of his daddy's presidency and of Reagan's. I mean, you know, Reagan had his little war with Grenada, which helped him get reelected. And, you know, Maggie Thatcher was the one who started it with the Falklands. So anyhow, that was the one time it's been used. But Putin's war and Trump's war against democracy is really cranking up. There was a report in Wired magazine last week that, well, here, I'll just quote from it. A Russian disinformation campaign is deploying everything from high-ranking lawmakers and government officials to lifestyle influencers, bloggers, and powerful state-run media outlets to stoke divisions in the United States around the Texas border crisis. Wired has also obtained exclusive access to data from two separate disinformation research groups that demonstrate a coordinated Russian effort on Telegram and X to sow discord by pushing the narrative that the U.S. is heading for civil war. And, you know, just a couple of months ago, the U.S. intelligence community released a report to 100 countries letting them know that Russia is attacking democracies by trying to sow dissent. The cable said, and this is our intelligence agencies, a unified voice of our intelligence agencies to the intelligence agencies of pretty much every other democracy in the world, quote, Russia is pursuing operations to degrade public confidence in the integrity of elections themselves. Now, keep in mind, elections are the fulcrum point. They're the foundation of democracy. So if you want to kill a democracy, what do? You destroy people's faith in their elections. The cable goes on to say, for Russia, the benefits of these operations are twofold: to sow instability within democratic societies and to portray democratic elections as dysfunctional and the resulting governments as illegitimate. A senior intelligence official involved in the analysis told CBS News, quote, we are seeing them look at their perceived success in 2016 and their perceived success in 2020 and gumming up outcomes to be something that should be continued moving forward and maybe even expanded. So here we have Donald Trump. He's been charged with 31 counts under the Espionage Act of 1917, which, by the way, is the law that was used to execute Julius and Ethel Rosenberg in 1953, in July of 1953. He's charged with stealing hundreds of top secret documents, taking them to Florida, sharing them with people who have no security clearance, and lying to the FBI and the National Archives about it. But of greatest concern is this 10-inch thick binder of raw intelligence from our spies and sources in Russia that's gone missing. I mean, that's the sort of thing Putin would pay billions for, and maybe has. You know, during his presidency, Trump was having secret conversations regularly with Putin. We know of at least 20 of them, in addition to the formal official ones. One was just, you know, a few days before the 2020 election. Of course, you know, we all know Trump outed a Russian spy in his first week in office when he invited the foreign minister, the Russian ambassador to the United States, Sergei Lavrov, and the Russian foreign minister, their equivalent of a secretary of state. No, that was that Lavrov? Yeah. Well, in any case, you know, the two of them into the White House and, you know, burned an Israeli spy who was in Syria. But it gets even wilder. In July of 2019, Trump had a private conversation with Putin, right? And the official readout said that they discussed wildfires and trade between nations. A week later, on August 2nd, Betsy Swan reported for the Daily Beast that Trump had asked the Office of the Director of National Intelligence for a list of all of its employees, including all of our spies around the world. So Trump talks to Putin, then Trump goes to the Director of National Intelligence and says, give me a list of all of our spies. And then 11 months later, the New York Times runs a story with this headline: captured, killed, or compromised, CIA admits to losing dozens of informants. The CIA then notified American spies around the world that they may have been compromised by President Trump. I mean, this is treason. I don't know how to describe it beyond that. I mean, it just goes on and on. I could give you a half a dozen other examples. They're in my article. And then you got the Trump followers, the Putin lovers who are affiliated with Trump, who are trying to get into the act too. Rand Paul, for example, in 2018, made a solo trip to Moscow to hand deliver a package of secret documents from Trump to Putin. We still have no idea what was in that package. Senator Paul has consistently taken Putin's side and Trump's side. He's taken Trump's side, saying that he actually won the election in 2020. When the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago, he called for the repeal of the Espionage Act. Later, he said that the FBI had planted the documents at Mar-a-Lago. And last week, as the Senate was considering $60 billion of aid to Ukraine, Rand Paul launches a filibuster on behalf of Vladimir Putin in the United States Senate. I mean, we now have agents of Russia in our Senate and in the House of Representatives. This is incredible. I mean, we used to call this the Cold War, you know, this battle between democracy and autocracy. Now I think Putin thinks that he can win this Cold War, as it were, and he's going to do it with the help of, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, who are, dialing back their interference with Putin's plans on their platforms. In fact, Elon Musk is even promoting Putin's stuff. This is not what you have when you have a healthy democracy. This is a country under attack. We are under attack.